Hello and welcome to the instructions for Yoda. So this is the child from Mandalorian dressed with a Santa hat. So the first thing you'll do is that whenever we are using acrylic paints, we always do the same thing. We always prep our space because once it gets on your hands or your clothes, acrylic paint is really hard to get out. So make sure you are in an appropriate workspace where you can be a little messy. Wear old clothes, your normal routine. Now, we're going to first start off by painting Yoda's face. Now, the Yoda race has a pale green color. So you will be mixing a pale green. So what that means is you're going to take some yellow and some blue. You're going to mix a light green, like so. And then we're going to mix a bunch of white into it. So this would be like a pale green. Some people would call this an olive green. Notice I'm mixing in the middle, not trying to mix the whole thing together. I don't need much of this pale green. And by mixing it right here on the edge, I can control how bright his face is. Once I've got my green mixed in, then I'm just going to fill in Yoda. So I'm going to fill in his whole head. Now, mine here is a little bit more golden, which means it has a little bit more yellow than my first example of this painting. And every painting will be different because of that. Notice I'm coloring around my pencil lines. I'm filling in between my spaces. I'm not aiming to color everything. And I'm flipping my brush as I paint. That gets the paint off both sides of the brush. Getting this little chin. I'm leaving 3 spots open. Those will be the 2 eyes. Those will be colored in black. Now his ears are more of a pale gray. For a pale gray, you're going to do the same thing, but this time you'll mix in a little bit of white and black. Now when I clean my brush, I'm going to stir it a whole bunch. Get all the paint out, and then I wipe the tip off here. So my goal is to get as much paint out as I can and as much liquid. If my brush is drippy, there's a very high chance that drippiness will end up in the paint being drippy. So then I'll even squish it on a napkin, or I'm using an old holiday paper towel. Now to get my pale gray, I'm going to take white and a smidge of black. Like that is a smidge, just a tiny amount. Because I don't want it to be too gray. So see, just a nice light gray. And I'm going to fill in around his ears. Now if I want him to match the other color, I could snag just a little bit of the yellow and mix it in. So I could just grab some of my green yellow and then paint in his ears. And again, if you want him a darker green, you can always add more blue to your yellow. Or if we provided you with green, I can't recall what we ordered, you could just use that pure. Now, I can also add some dark spots by adding back in some blue, giving his ears some darker accents. And the shadows on his face. Important thing to do is do one section at a time. Notice I'm not trying to do everything. I'm doing one section at a time. Okay, he's got a couple of claws peeking through his outfit. So I'm going to go ahead and use that same color on his claws. Notice I'm turning my paintbrush skinny side. So I'm using the pointed edge. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and do, while that dries, before we can go ahead and do in the details, I'm going to go ahead and clean my brush. Because I'm going to switch to his outfit. Now his outfit on the Mandalorian, he's kind of got a tan color. So again, that's a yellow with a little bit of white. So I'm going to take my yellow, a little bit of white, and I mix it right in on my gray. Now his top part is foofy. extra fluffy. And at any point, if I'm going too fast, feel free to pause and come back to it. So to make it floofy, all I'm going to do is instead of painting, I'm going to dab. This will give it the paint a texture and it'll dry it out in clumps. So I'm going to do this for this whole top section of his outfit, the bottom section by his claws on both sides. Now I'm going to mix in some darker gray. Again, I'm going to grab just a little bit of black. Mix it in here to make a darker gray. Still having that tan base. And now I'm going to floof in the edges. So again, I'm just fluffing. So I'm not outright separating out the colors, but I am adding in the colors. This gives you the fluffiness of his coat. It's like a fur coat on the top. And it's also here at the seams. I did forget one little section here, but luckily, because I don't mix all of my paint through every time I do it, I can go back and get it. So again, I cleaned my brush, grabbed a little bit of that bright yellowy white I made earlier, and now I'm going to fluff that in right there. A little bit more here. So when it comes to this stuff, there's no wrong way to paint a Mandalorian child, because they're not real. So if you want to make your Yoda purple, it is your painting. You can color them whatever you want. We did give you the set of colors that I provided, but we are using acrylic, so you are welcome to mix your paint as you go and modify your subject. So you can paint them any way you want. Now this bottom section is kind of an all gray. So this time I am going to flip my brush. I'm not going to bounce this. I'll pick up my board so I get this bottom edge right here. And again, if I want to add some color to it, I can always streak in some color. You want to do this while the paint is still drying. You don't want to try and streak in color after everything's done. So I can go in and add some highlight spots. Also use this to fill in. Give him some wrinkles. He doesn't really fit into this clothes. So I'm taking some white and I'm filling in the gaps. Now if I see lots of these speckled dots, one way to fill that in is you take your brush in and out of the water. Don't wipe it, and then you paint over everything. What that does is that dissolves your paint so it's a little thinner, and then it will fill in those dots much quicker and much more nicely. But you don't want to do that all the time. Once towards the end is plenty. Okay. My Yoda face is now dry. So I'm going to go in and add my black now. Again, at any point, I'll probably paint faster than you. You can always pause the video. Go back. I'm going to go ahead and put in his black eyes. Again, notice how I'm doing them. So I'm putting in the middle, and then I'm just going left, right, because he's got kind of wide eyes. They're not a perfect circle. And then I'm going to do his mouth same way. I'm going to do the brush skinny side. If you find you have problems with this when your paint's dry, you can always go back with a pencil or a marker and cover over your lines. So like I could go right now. His nose. And find his eyebrows. I can color over that because that is now dry, so that you can see those details. Now he has some dots in his eyes. So I'm just going to go back, get some dots. Just show his eyes looking out at you. Okay. Our next step will be his hat. We're going to do the base color first, which is just a straight red. So I'm cleaning my brush because I use black and white. Circle it in the water. I wipe it on the top, squeezing out as much water as possible. Then I place it on a napkin or paper towel. And I'm just going to go straight to my red and fill in Santa's hat. By the way, thank you guys again for joining me for West Paint Night. And this is your Santa hat. So if you don't want him to wear a red hat, he does not have to have red. You have other colors you could mix. You can mix blue and yellow to make green. You can mix red and blue to make purple. You could change his hat and give him a top hat and just paint it all black. This is all your choice. Okay. So again, if I paint faster than you, which I will, I've done this a few times. This is my third time painting this one. Now to make the hat fluffy, again, I'm going to take the white and I'm just going to go in and I'm going to bounce. Now, if you want to pick up a little bit of red, so get some tinge and some color in there, you can. All it means is I'm just going to pop on top my red right there at the edge. And I can do that exact same thing on part of the cap right here. So I can bounce into the red a little bit and pull that color in. So that'll give it a nice fluffy hat texture. And I'm going to go over my Yoda head just a little bit too. And at any point, feel free to stop. Okay, so my last main detail then is my background. So the background is any color you want, and then you just fill in. I prefer myself, let me touch it a little bit more of the yellow green down here. Just that edge on his snap. I prefer to do a bright color like blue or red and mix it in. Since we don't have a red hat, I use blue in our example. So all I'm going to do is take some blue, go right here on the edge, and paint out in an X pattern. By doing this, it kind of pulls your vision in to the topic. Now this part will take a while. So again, all you're going to do is fill in a pattern like this. Lots of blue. And then, once you've got your blue in on your lines, you just grab some of your white, and then you just start filling it in. There's no wrong way of doing this. You could do nice even coats and make it even. You could do circles. You could do it any way you want. This is just my version of the background. So all I'm doing is alternating between blue and white and filling in my space. Now one thing you might want to do is go in around your edge and outline your hat so that all your paint doesn't get pulled together. But if you do, then you got purple. And I'll show you a different style. So on the other side, instead of doing straight lines, I could just do circles of blue and white. So you can see it's going to create a different texture. Again, I'll want to outline my shapes before I do too much. So see, this will create two different textures, and you can choose. You can do left, circles, that looks more like snow. Right, rays, that pulls your focus more towards the middle. So either one of these methods will work perfect. Don't forget at any point to stop and save. So you can pause the game, excuse me, you can pause the video at any point. So you can do either one of these textures. You could also just do straight, color, and fill. This will use the most paint. And this will result in the most number of squares that you have to fill in, but it will fill it in evenly. So this will require direct, pure paint. And you guys should all have plenty of paint to fill these in. And you can go up and down, and then you go left, right. Make sure you're flipping your brush one side then the other to really fill in. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I would love to see what yours looks like. Feel free to post it to the West Elementary PTO page when you're done. Hope you guys all had fun. Oh, don't forget, if you want to go back and outline with a marker when it's all dry, you can. Or you can use black at the very end. And then you can go in and like outline the ridges for his ears. For his coat. You can notice I'm holding my brush skinny side and I'm not pushing down. Any of these will work just right. And don't forget, he also has some claws. So yeah, it does have a little bit of a claw for fingernail, so you just color in a little triangle at the end of each one of these fingers. Okay, hope you guys have fun and enjoy your painting time. Thank you.